In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, we give Him praise and thanks for bringing to birth February 26, 1877, one born to fulfill the desires of the world of Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. The great Mahdi that the Muslim world has been looking for is now in the world. He made his appearance among us and chose from our ranks the black man and woman of America, a divine leader, teacher, and guide as His messenger to us and to the world. And now we know that man, Elijah Muhammad, as the Messiah. Thank you. I greet all of you with the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum. To the media, thank you for coming today. To the friends and well-wishers and community activists who are present, and to the believers who took time from your schedules to be with us today. I very rarely, if ever, call press conferences. But this is probably one of the most difficult conferences that I have ever been a part of. On the screen, you will see Brother Leader Muammar Gadhafi and our President Barack Obama. Both of these men are my brothers. Brother Leader Muammar Gadhafi is my Muslim brother, revolutionary leader, and I was appointed as his deputy commander over 22 Islamic nations. He has been a friend of the Nation of Islam. Since 1972, when members of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's staff, his son, Herbert Muhammad, may Allah be pleased with him, visited Libya and requested from Brother Leader Muammar Gadhafi a loan of $3 million, and the place that you're sitting in is what that $3 million bought. It was the former Greek Orthodox Church. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad transformed this building into a national center for the re-education and retraining of black men and women in America, the Caribbean, and throughout the world. Every month, $75,000 was brought to Libya to pay back the loan. And I believe the $3 million was paid in full. The government of the United States of America did not appreciate that Muammar Gadhafi would loan Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam money. So a memo was sent to Al Hague by John Dean requesting that they investigate this loan, while at the same time American companies were doing business in Libya with no question. When the Nation of Islam was no longer in existence, and I desired to rebuild his work and lift Elijah Muhammad's name, program, mission, and teachings again, I visited Libya. And when we had a program called People Organized and Working for Economic Rebirth, we went to Libya and requested a loan of $5 million that we may start a personal care product line that would put black men and women to work and put to work others in the creative side of it to make products for us. The person that was to make the products was Mr. Johnson, who was the entrepreneur that had Soft Sheen, was it? Ultra Sheen. Thank you. We took the money and we placed it in Independence Bank under the stewardship of a black president and a black chairman of the board. I was not going to take any money in secret, so I announced to the world that we had gotten a loan from Brother Muammar Gadhafi. During the time of our trying to put personal care products on the line, Mr. Johnson informed me that he could not make the products anymore because he was threatened by certain members of the Jewish community that if he did anything for Farrakhan, they would stop the circulation and distribution of his own products. So brother declined, and we had to search around for others who would do that for us. A little later on, President Shealy, who was president of Independence Bank, and Mr. Johnson visited me at the Final Call building and asked me to take the money out of their bank. Such is the state of black giants that are midgets when it comes to comparing them with the power of the enemy. During that time, the National House of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was taken for taxes, and Phi Alpha, I believe, had bought the taxes. And within 2 weeks from the day that we found out, the property would have gone over to Alpha. We called Libya and told them that the property of Elijah Muhammad was available, and could we use some of the money to repurchase what rightfully belonged to us. Dr. Sharif said, well, you have the money, you may do with it as you please. So immediately we went downtown, paid the taxes, bought the National House along with Elijah Muhammad's home in Phoenix, refurbished it as the national home of whoever would be in leadership of the Nation of Islam. It is not the personal property of Louis Farrakhan. Every square inch of it belongs to every member of the Nation of Islam, past and present. It can never be sold. It will remain in perpetuity in the hands, by the grace of Allah, of the Nation of Islam. I made 3 world tours. 2 of them were sponsored by the Islamic Call Society. And one was partly financed by the nation, and another part financed by the Call Society. I've been all over the world because of that man. Wait a minute. I've spoken to heads of state and government in over 53 countries. And I have been honored and respected by them as a head of state. All of the African leaders that I met them because Muammar Gadhafi saw me as that, and when those leaders met in private, I met with them, and I know most of them, and of course most of them know Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam. It's a terrible thing for me to hear my brother called all these ugly and filthy names when I cannot recognize him as that. So even though the current and the tide is moving against him, what kind of brother would I be if a man has been that way to me and to us, and when he's in trouble, I refuse to raise my voice in his defense? He has done less for me and the nation than you have done. The reason I can give money and support causes is because of the charity of the believers. So if I will not bow down or back down from a man who gave so little, then why would I back down from those who have given so much? On the other side of this picture is our president, Barack Hussein Obama. We've known him for over 20 years. He was a community organizer, and And when he wanted to run for office, Brother Leonard, who was then our chief of staff, I called him. I said, there's a man out here named Barack Obama. I want you to organize the FOI and let's get him elected. I never met him. He got elected. The only time we didn't support him was when he ran against Bobby Rush for Congress, because we know Bobby a long time. We know his track record. We know the strength of that brother of ours, so we could not do it at that time. But when brother wanted to be senator, he came here, and in the office he asked for our support, and we gave him our support. Not that we wanted anything from him in return. We wanted him to do good for the people that he represented. When he was thinking about running, in fact, when he said he was going to run at Savior's Day, 2007, I spoke well of him. I did not endorse him because I knew an endorsement from me would hurt his chances. So while he was battling with Hillary Clinton on an NBC show, they wanted him to denounce me. All of this started from the Washington Post, Mr. Friedman, picked up by the attack dog of the Anti-Defamation League. And they said we have to give him the litmus, the Farrakhan litmus test. He didn't want to denounce me. He tried his best to get around it. Finally, they put the question to him, and Hillary Clinton forced it, and he denounced or renounced any support from Louis Farrakhan. Many black people said they were not going to vote for him, but I told them it's bigger than Louis Farrakhan, brother. I did the same when Reverend Jackson repudiated me. It's not personal with me. It's about what's in the best interest of our people. I love Muammar Gadhafi, and I love our president. It grieves me to see my brother president set a policy that would remove this man not only from power but from the earth. That bothered me. Now, why did I call a press conference? At first, it had nothing to do with Brother Gadhafi. I saw the earthquake in Japan and the tsunami that followed, and the damaging of nuclear reactors that began poisoning the air and the water. And I began to age as I was looking at it, because I knew there was a deeper significance that God wanted me to look into. And when I saw the horror of the suffering of the Japanese people, as prepared as they are as technologically proficient as they are, yet they were not prepared for the magnitude of what happened to them. And what made me want to call a press conference was to warn America that a major earthquake is on the way to you and me and us. Death and destruction is at the door of all of us, and we are worse prepared than the Japanese. And the arrogance of the American government and people to think that our nuclear reactors are secure when two major ones are sitting on fault lines. Much death. I'll say it again. Much death is on its way. And what is that for? You know? Say, well, Farrakhan, why are you doing this? My teacher, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, was not only a messenger of God and more, he was a guide and a warner to you, black people, and to the American people, and to the American government, and to the nations of the earth. He told us the headlines before ever we saw them. He knew what was coming. He printed it in Muhammad Speaks. He put it in the head and the heart of his ministers. And after the nation fell, the question was asked, what will happen to the work of Elijah Muhammad? Who will stand up? Who will go for us? I didn't ask nobody's permission. Allah is sufficient. And I stood up to rebuild his work. I stood up to take my part of his burden. What do you mean by that? Why is Moses mentioned in the Quran more than any other prophet? More than Jesus, more than even Muhammad himself. Moses, because the last man is to be a man like Moses. You can't have a man like Moses unless you have a king like Pharaoh, and unless you have a people like the children of Israel. Moses had a man with him who was his brother Aaron. Aaron was a man that spoke eloquently. Moses had a stammering tongue. Elijah Muhammad is that Moses, and I am his Aaron. Whether you believe it or not, both of us have authority to deal with Pharaoh, the modern government of America. That's why I speak with authority, because I have authority. And what comes out of my mouth, God will answer it. The Quran says, O messenger, deliver that which has been revealed to thee from thy Lord. And if you do it not, you have not delivered his message, and Allah will protect you from men. Surely Allah guides not the disbelieving people. It doesn't give me joy to warn you of things to come. It doesn't give me joy to tell you that the judgment of God has now entered America. A warner never warns hoping that the enemy will not heed the warning so that the punishment of God could afflict them. Messengers of God and warners from God always warn with hope that the people will hear, think, look at the signs, and make a determination to take the practical steps that will avoid the destruction that God had purposed. To the members of the press, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said 4 great judgments will be used to bring America down. These are judgments not by the hands of man. They are by the hand of him that we all believe is the creator of the heavens and the earth. And those 4 judgments are rain, hail, snow, and earthquakes. Open your eyes and look at the increasing rain, hail, snow. There are several hundred earthquakes that have already come to America. Little small ones. I'm not talking about a little small one. God, when he sends a warner, the Quran says he seizes the people with distress and affliction that they might humble themselves. With Moses, he prayed that God would destroy the wealth of Pharaoh, because his people were enamored with Pharaoh's wealth. So if Pharaoh's wealth were destroyed, the people would have nothing to look to Pharaoh for. Then they would be willing to leave Pharaoh and do something for themselves. How's America's wealth today? How is she doing financially? What is the deficit? Some say it's about $56 trillion, counting Social Security, Medicare. That's a big number. She's printing money, but there's nothing backing it. The dollar is buying less today than yesterday. I know you hope that the stimulus package will help you. But you are not stimulated, are you? No. Neither are the American people. George W. Bush was the first man to talk about a stimulus package and borrowed nearly $800 billion. Why don't the Republicans talk about George W. Bush's stimulus that stimulated nothing? Why is all the blame for the debt of America put on Barack? Less than 100 years ago, the debt of America was a little over $1 billion. And in 100 years, We are in debt to the point where the future of our children, our grandchildren, and our great-grandchildren are in doubt. And that's why there's such a heavy military expenditure, because you can't pay your debt. Did you hear me? So you have to threaten the debtor with your fine weapons, your powerful weapons. That's what gangsters do. Now, the reason that judgment is on America is not because of America's bad policies and what she has done to other nations of the world, but the reason that his anger is kindled against America and his threat to destroy America, it is because what America has done, is doing, and plans to do against the people that God has chosen. The black man and woman of America, whom I have declared to the world of religion, Christians, Muslims, and Jews, that we are the children of Israel and we are the fulfillment of God's prophecy and promise. In other words, you don't have a future in this political economic system. You can't carve out a future for 45 million black people in the economy of America. And this is why God is asking for separation in a state or territory of our own. And that the government should look after us in that state or territory for the next 20 to 25 years until we are able to go for ourselves. And this is what Thomas Jefferson suggested. This is what Abraham Lincoln suggested. And now, under Barack Obama, black people are lulled to sleep believing that there's a future for us in America's politics. You got more mayors, few governors, more city councilmen, more judges, more police chiefs, more rape, more murder, more joblessness, more hopelessness. So if politics was really the answer, why haven't all these politicians that we put in office help to change the reality of black suffering and white poor suffering and Latino suffering? Politics without economics is symbol without substance. And so the judgment is on. Well, the tsunami started the 11th of March, earthquake, but Brother Gadhafi started getting in trouble the 15th of February. Before that, Tunisia. After that, Egypt. Jordan in trouble. Yemen in trouble. Syria now in trouble. Saudi in trouble. What's going on? And why? Why all of a sudden this rush to destroy Gadhafi? I have to ask this question of our government. Now, I know why you are angry with him. Because he never agreed with your policies when it came to sucking the resources of third world peoples and putting in place dictators that would be amenable to America's policies. And whenever a government arose a leader arose that wanted to use the resources of that nation for that nation's people. America, through the CIA, would plan insurrection, coups, terrorist activity, and even assassination of good leaders to put in their place America's dictators. How dare you act like you're against dictators? Come on, you American people, I'm talking to you. When did America not love dictators? We have a record of all the coups that have taken place since the 50s to 1984, and we'll put it up on a link so you can go get the information. Your government is not clean. These are gangsters, but they wear suits, but they rob weak nations and bring down strong ones. Now you say, Farrakhan, you're an anti-American. Now wait a minute. Do you know the greatest Americans are those who will refuse to bend the Constitution for personal gain, party gain, power gain? If there is such a thing in America as freedom of speech, then surely freedom of speech will allow America to hear her critics and look at herself and make change. Helen Thomas, that great American legend of Lebanese extraction, who sat on the front row in the White House press corps. She always was hard on every president. Every president knew her. And one day she just said the Jews should get out of Palestine and go back to Poland and Eastern Europe and other places, but don't take the land of the Palestinians. The next day, she was gone. So much for freedom of speech. Rick Sanchez of CNN made the mistake of telling the truth, that the Jewish people control the media. That's why I don't expect too much, even though I invite you, because I know you are already bought and paid for, and I don't give a damn whether you write what I say or not. The truth will get out. Bring me some water. Excuse my harsh language, but it's that time. Now, poor brother Gadhafi, I was with him in the Mathaba. The Mathaba is that revolutionary group in Libya that really planned, bringing down governments that were not for the good of the people. Well, they wanted me to join, but I said, no. They asked me, why wouldn't you join Farrakhan? I said, because I don't need a gun to create a revolution. true revolution is never brought about by guns. It's brought about by a change in the minds of the people that changes their behavior. So I told Brother Gadhafi and the people around him, I'll take the Bible and the Quran and I'll create a revolution inside America. Now, after that, I hadn't heard from my brother in a while. Sanctions came on Libya, harsh sanctions, but he kept his nation going. Very harsh sanctions. We would go there, no plane, we couldn't fly. We had to go to Malta and take a boat, or we had to go to Jerba in Tunisia and ride for 10 hours to Tripoli. They suffered because he's a revolutionary. You say he's a dictator and a repressive man. Maybe so. I know something about repression. Wait. Look, when you're a dictator for America, you have to have an army, you have to have the intelligence, you have to listen to what everybody is saying, you have to put informers among everybody, and then you lock up those who speak against your dictatorship. You kill people, yes. And America trained people to kill. Can any of you media people tell me that I'm out of step with reality? I don't think so. Reagan, he was against the Contras. He called on his friend, the king of Saudi Arabia, because Congress wouldn't allow him the money to make war on the Contras or the Sandinistas in Nicaragua. Saudi sent 10 million. The war kept going. A lot of killing of innocent civilians. What happened to humanitarian concerns? I have to look at hypocrisy and call it as I see it. Will you join me if I'm speaking truth? What about Rwanda? Wasn't that a humanitarian crisis? Weren't there many refugees? Clinton didn't do anything there. What about the Congo? Millions of lives lost in the Congo. What about Sudan? A war raging for 20 years. You don't know this, but I went to the Sudan, talked to the north, went into Uganda and talked to John Garang of the rebel force against Khartoum. And I went back to Khartoum and told them what they want in southern Sudan is justice. Now, this may come as a bitter pill, but when I was in Libya years ago, I admonished them for their treatment of black people and for being a part of the slave trade. One man jumped up after I said it and ran and told Gadhafi. Brother Gadhafi said, well, because he said that in your face, that means he's not a politician. I have never shrunk, even with Saddam Hussein. I told him that jihad is not for Saddam Hussein. Jihad is for Allah. And I said, how did yesterday's hypocrite become today's hero? I don't know whether you were there, Brother Baghdadi. You were there. Yeah. Truth is the only weapon that the wicked fear. They don't fear guns because they have bigger guns. They fear truth. But most people who know the truth are afraid to print it, to tell it, to spread it, because they fear consequences. Anybody here that's not going to die? I didn't think so. So what the hell are you afraid of? Stand up like a man and save your country. Now, Brother Gadhafi was shocked. Thank you, press. If you want to go, it's okay. You can get it. Because I really wanted it to go to the White House. And then to the masses. This is a dangerous trick that's being played on Barack. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to ask you a question. What future does Barack Obama have after the White House as a brilliant young black giant? And what fear to those who hate him, what fear do they have? The knowledge, the experience that he has gained, how could he use it to organize, not in a little community, but organize people who suffer all over the world? So I warned him, brother, be careful, because the steps that you are taking will ruin your future with Africa and the Middle East. And right now, with what he's doing, Africa has turned thumbs down. The Middle East that had hope in him, Central and South America that had hope in him. When he was in Brazil, they were saying to him to go home. Yes. And the Brazilian government felt that he insulted them because the day that he landed talking about unity between those nations was the day that bombs were falling on Libya, and they felt it was an insult to them for him to do that. Did any of you members of the press read that? Now I know it appears that brother has backtracked. It's not regime change anymore. Maybe Gadhafi will hold on. Now, brothers, sisters, when he said regime change, Gadhafi got to step down and get out. The policy was already in that he, Gadhafi, would be assassinated and his revolution reversed. Put up on the board, on the screen, Time magazine with Ronald Reagan and Barack. You have it up there? Did you see that Time magazine? Now they got Reagan looking dark as Barack. Now you know he never hugged Barack Obama, but that was put together like that to say something. but I got the message. Why Obama loves Reagan. And when you look at the article, Obama admires Reagan more so than George W. or Clinton. It's Reagan. Go read it for yourself. Show them the other picture that's on the inside. I want you to look at this. What a striking resemblance. It don't mean much to you, but when this book was delivered to me last night, I got sick. Because now I understand why that earthquake and tsunami messed me up. I understand why when I saw Gadhafi standing in the ruins of where he once lived, telling the Libyan people all that he had done for them. It was a sad, sad picture. Did you know that a government and a revolution like his, you always have to have informants? You have to have people that listen to the people's talk against the regime. So there is going to be what? Repression. When Reagan dropped bombs, the Libyans that were against Reagan were supposed to rise against him. They did. And they're waiting now to rise in the resurrection. Same thing happened with Saddam Hussein. In the South, where the no-fly zone was, those people were encouraged to rise against Saddam. And when George W. Bush, Herbert Walker Bush, would not go beyond Kuwait into Iraq, those people that had risen up were slaughtered. Now I want to ask you a question. When you have a government and you're trying to keep your government going, can you stand for there to be a popular uprising with weapons? Just answer me. Some of you are fathers. Have you ever had your son kind of push up on you? Did you dialogue? Enough said. The rebels in the eastern part of Libya are Muslims, and many of them very good, sincere Muslims. Some of the scholars say they're more from the Wahhabi Salafi strain of Muslims. And there's a study done that the jihadists that were fighting in Afghanistan, many of the fierce ones came from eastern Libya. Now, when you see Muslims leaving their homes, the Mujahideen going to fight Russia in Afghanistan, it's not about money. It's about a cause worthy to spend your life. Gadhafi was ill prepared for war. My brother had been lulled to sleep. I have to say it, Brother Gadhafi, if you hear it, because I went to him for the second time. Did you know that I put myself in danger after I learned that it was Libya that America was going to bomb? I sent my family home from Africa, and I got on an Aeroflot jet and landed in Tripoli and warned Brother Gadhafi's people of what America was planning to do. Ronald Reagan, while I was in Belize, said no American should do business with or travel to Libya. $50,000 fine, 10 years in prison. It crystallized for me while I was in Ghana that it was Libya, that the vision, and Elijah Muhammad said the president has met with his joint chiefs of staff to plan a war. I want you to hold a press conference and make known their plans. Well, I had to find out who the war was against and why he didn't tell me more, because Reagan was the beginning, and unfortunately Barack Obama is the end. Now, many of you who heard of my vision-like experience and laughed at me and mocked me, but all the governments that are now releasing their files on UFOs, America's holding back, but Britain just released hers, Mexico, Brazil, China, other nations are informing their people of the reality of what is above your head, that America's technology, they say, is 1,000,000 years behind. So when a man visited us Savior's Day, and he was telling us about the technology of what they discovered in Rockwell, in New Mexico, he said, what is it? Roswell, thank you. He said, we are thousands of years behind. I said, why do you think you're that far behind? Who do you think then that you're dealing with? If you're the best in the world, but you're thousands of years behind the technology on those wheels, I'm here to tell you that you're dealing with God. And you have no weapon that can handle what is already prepared to take you out. Now you may laugh, but in a few days, something is going to wipe the smile and the laugh from your face. Now, this man, Barack, he had a good heart. We all fell in love with him during the campaign. Not the same man today. He's got problems and pressure that he didn't have then. But the worst part of this is the human spirit that made him go to the Middle East and say to Muslims and to peoples of the third world that we are sorry in words for any mistakes that we have made in the past. That was noble. Pope John Paul did the same thing. He apologized for what the church had done to indigenous people all over the world. An intelligent man who wants to chart a new course must look at what was, rectify it, and put something new in place. That was what was in our brother's heart. But the moment he went over there, Mitt Romney and that crowd, we don't need no president to apologize for us. See? And the chorus started building against a moral consciousness in Barack. But gradually, the people that surrounded him engulfed him. Who's Timothy Geithner? Larry Summers? Paul Volcker? Ben Bernanke? Who are these people that were his economic advisors? All of them came from Goldman Sachs. And they encouraged Obama to take a second stimulus package. He wanted to benefit all of the people that were losing their homes. Did they benefit? He wanted to open up monies so that small business could begin to generate jobs. What happened? Poor brother beginning to be swallowed up. I can imagine when Gadhafi looked weak, he said, let's get him. Now I want to deal with the rush to destroy him. What was the rush? He had good relations with Italy, with France, with Germany, with Britain. He was on the good side of America. He gave up not some of his weapons of mass destruction. He gave them all up. Now they're trying to say, well, he kept some sarin gas, or he kept some mustard gas or poison gas. That's a predicate, you know, for putting boots on the ground. Our brother, as we speak, is in trouble in Libya. And England, France, NATO, the Arab League, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates. Why did Amr Musa say we need a no-fly zone? Brother Gadhafi, if you look in his face, he was completely in shock at the betrayal of all his partners in Europe. You want to hear something strange? There's a group called the Morton Group. Have you heard of them? It's the Monitor Group, headed up by Harvard's Michael Porter. You need to check that out, because Gadhafi opened the door. And guess who went in? Richard Pearl. Now, many of you don't know Richard Pearl. What is his nickname? The Prince of Darkness. They let him in. Wow, things have changed. And guess what? This Monitor Group was there to help Gadhafi broaden Libya and clean up his image. Do you remember when I met with rabbis here in Chicago And they told me that if I condemned the secret relationship between blacks and Jews, book 1, and acted well and spoke nice over a protracted period of time, but listen to the words, we will clean up your image. Why? How can you clean it up? Because you dirtied it. Now you are over in Libya telling Gadhafi you're going to clean him up, so he let you in. Now you're trying to clean him out. See, this is why we don't trust white people. No, I want you to know this. And all our people that put their trust in you have been deceived and brought down. Tell me I'm a liar. You just weak, spineless Negroes. Many of you have sold out the future of our people for some friendship with your open enemy. Now I can conclude. In closing, let me tell you what I know about this brother. He took power in a bloodless coup. He didn't kill nobody. The minute he came to power, of course, the king, I'm sure he was a nice gentleman. Like some of you, you're nice. But you've sold out to corporate interests. You're still a nice guy, but we can't trust the future of our people in the hands of you nice guys. See this go along to get along? That means you compromise things that maybe you should never compromise. My brother took the king out of power and refused to live in his palace. It's there in Tripoli today as a museum. He was a man from the desert. He chose to live in the desert. At the time that he took power, America had a base there. Britain had a base there. They were in control of the oil. Gadhafi put the Americans out, put the British out, nationalized the oil. Now wait, is that a bad thing to do? I know the price of your gas is going up, but I'm talking about, was that a bad thing for a leader of a nation to do when the oil that's under their foot really belongs to the Libyan people? He took the oil, yes he did. Now, I read in the book of John, Jesus was doing all these good works, and he asked the people, which one of my good works do you stone me? I want to look at some of the good things that I know of Brother Gadhafi. He didn't want your democracy. He announced he was socialist. That got him in trouble with the Muslim Brotherhood. That got him in trouble with the Wahhabis and others who were strict in their interpretation of the Quran. But Gadhafi started like Nasser as a socialist. All of a sudden, women that I used to go to Libya and you'd see them with one eye. They had a veil, you know, that covered one eye. They could only see out of one. I'm not lying. You go there today, women look like you. You can see their faces. Some of those who are older, they put on their full garb. But the Libyan woman is educated. She's free. She's helping to build her nation. How is that the work of a lunatic and a madman? He took oil money. I don't know how many homes of American people have been foreclosed on, but it's in the millions. While we're losing homes, Gadhafi was building homes so that every Libyan has either a home or a flat that belongs to them. He built one hospital that I saw that was $500 million with 18 operating theaters. And across from that, they were making their own medicines. And he built another hospital, $500 million. The book says that in 51, Libya was the poorest nation on earth. Now, the standard of living in Libya is the finest in Africa, and the per capita income is double that of the Egyptians. So if the people have free education, free housing, free medical, a friend of mine told me they're 30% unemployed. So I went to check behind that, and it's true, but a lot of Libyans don't want to work the menial tasks. You know, like some of you that don't have jobs, and you don't want to pick grapes or this, so you mad at the Latino brother or sister because they're taking the job that you don't want, because after all, you're a big man now. You'd rather sell drugs than work hard. That's bad. I just read where brother said he wanted to, in 2009, he said he wanted to nationalize all the oil to get more money for the Libyan people. And guess who would be suffering? Oh, let me see. Anglo-Dutch Shell, British Petroleum, U.S. Exxon Mobil, Hess Corp, Marathon Oil, Occidental Petroleum, ConocoPhillips, the Spanish Repsol, Germany's Wintershall, Austria's OMV, Norway's Statoil, E9, Canada's Petro-Canada. See, then he could deal with them. They could still get oil. But he would be in control of the fluctuation of production so he could keep prices at a reasonable rate. This is what Gadhafi said. I'm quoting now, and what my fax team does, they do what they do on TV. We have fax checks, because I don't want to be out here lying to you. But my point is, I was in Libya. Gadhafi and his engineers, he found water in the desert. He brought water up from the desert way out in Benghazi, and brought that water from Benghazi almost to the border of Tunisia. And I was one of those privileged to be there when the water started flowing. Gadhafi's hand, my hand, President Rawlings' hand, and another president, we hit the button together, and the water flowed. Now, wait a minute. We took all this stimulus money to build infrastructure. Gadhafi building infrastructure, your bridges falling down. You can't get hospital treatment. In fact, the poor brother passed a medical health care bill, and the Republicans about to destroy it. But not in Libya. Free health care. That's a lunatic. He saw corruption in his popular committees, and he was about to disband the government and give direct money to the Libyan people. 2009. You know, when you start making changes like that, who do you anger? Your inner circle. The last point, Brother Gadhafi wrote in the Green Book that the black race would prevail in the world. And when the Arab League decided that they were going to let the West do to Iraq and Saddam what they did, he condemned them and walked out. Now, the Quran says, let not hatred of a people cause you to act unjustly. Gadhafi is not loved by a lot of people, especially leaders. Now, there's some blame maybe on him. But you know, in God's scale, he puts the good on the scale with the evil, and the Quran says good outweighs evil. Now, when a man has done all of that, and to bring him out of the cold, he turned over his nuclear stuff, weapons of mass destruction. He gave them sarin gas, mustard gas. And that man was so in tune with peace that even when the sanctions were lifted, he didn't spend money increasing the technology of his armaments. He was not prepared for what happened. Now, America's dirty hand. My mother had a saying, you never see the fowls behind until the wind blows. So what wind was blowing that America, England, Denmark, Italy, Germany, France, Canada's behind was exposed? See, once you knew or thought that they were going to just sweep this man out, and they found that he had the capacity to win, the rush then was, if this man wins, he already told us, no oil coming to Europe, no oil to France, no oil to Italy, no oil to America, no oil to England. America can survive, but Europe cannot, because sweet crude coming out of Libya, you don't have to refine it as much. So if Libya will not sell its crude to Europe, Europe will have to buy crude wherever it can. Price of oil going up, your price going up at the pump. We got to get rid of this man and put a government in place. Now, America keeps saying, who are the rebels that we are backing? Some of them are sure enough Al-Qaeda. Gadhafi was not lying, Brother Baghdadi. We researched it. Al-Qaeda is there. There are drugs there, true. The drugs among young people. All you young brothers. See, the enemy, if he cannot control you with religion and with this nasty porridge called education, if they cannot control you, they will drug you and then put you at war with one another so that they remain in power. America will make a big mistake, and guess what? Why, they had a CIA operative that was with Gadhafi, and he fled to America. Been here for 20 years, and they just sent him to Benghazi. Thank you for what you sent me, brother. They sent a CIA operative for what? To look over the field of rebels to make sure that the one that they back will be the one that will be pliant to America's wishes. That's why England wanted to come in after the revolution in Egypt. We want to help you in your transition. The hell they do. They want to guide it so that it will benefit Israel as well as England and America. So, my friends, my brothers, my sisters, since Brother Gadhafi said, Brother Barack said, that this man has lost legitimacy to rule. And since the UN said cease fire, who was the ceasefire on? Was it just Gadhafi or not the combatants in the East? So if Gadhafi says, I'll take the ceasefire, but the combatants of the East say, we want to go all the way to Tripoli and get rid of Gadhafi, then the Quran says, fight with those who fight with you. Wait a minute. The Quran says when they betray you like this, seize them and slay them wherever you find them. That man wasn't going there to kill innocent people. He was killing the traitors. What the hell do you do, America, to your traitors? So, in conclusion, thank you so much. I would ask America and the UN, have a genuine ceasefire on both sides. If you really don't want humanitarian crisis, stop the fighting. What's the next step? Since you say Brother Gadhafi has lost legitimacy, how did you get that information? Did you poll the Libyan people? No, you really didn't. So why not then, in the ceasefire, prepare time for a referendum on Muammar Gadhafi? And if he wins, you're going to tell him, get out? But you know you don't want it to get to that. Because if you believe he's that popular in a referendum, nobody in the eastern section can show one thing that they did for the Libyan people that's more than what Brother Muammar Gadhafi has done. The truth is, you want him dead. Now my warning to my brother president. Do you see all of the betrayals that are going on in Libya now? Brother Baghdadi and I and some of us that have been to Libya, we know Musa Kusa. I hope it's not true that he has defected. Well, I'm looking at us. Because what's over there is right over here. Yeah. Do you think that the planners are deliberately planning to destroy any future for Barack and then assassinate him? Wait now, I'm going to raise it. He pulls Gadhafi down. Africa's upset. He pulls Gadhafi down. Even though the Arab League may have said, we don't like Gadhafi, but they don't like you bombing. So they're pulling back. And he's getting the heat now, but you don't see who's behind pulling those strings. The stupid mistake that we make is to think that the president is the supreme power. Never was. Money is the power in America. Don't say in the media that these people want your democracy. That's not what they're telling you. They want liberty, free expression. They want some of the Bill of Rights that are enshrined in our Constitution. But your democracy? America, you've got an arrogant nerve. While you have lost your democracy to special interest groups, to corporate people that buy laws. All of you know what I'm talking about. Zionist control of the government of the United States of America. Republicans can't get together with Democrats. Only when something is affecting Israel, then both sides come together. Something is wrong with that picture, America. Lastly, all the 12 major organizations of the Jewish leadership and their leaders, along with rabbis and others, met with Barack Obama. It was a quiet meeting, but it got out. When it got out, they said they were talking about Israel and what to do. I submit to you that in that meeting, something was raised about Louis Farrakhan. I want you to just listen, because I'm giving you headlines before they happen. Oh, yeah. I want to get the exact quote from a member of the thank you. Pardon me while I get it out, because I don't excuse me. Oh, here it is. The Zionist Organization of America wrote a letter to the president, open letter, July 6th. This is after our big meeting in Atlanta when we revealed Book 2, Secret Relationship Between Blacks and Jews. And look at what they told our president, Mr. Morton Klein. We fully appreciate that it is not normally incumbent upon a president to comment or condemn each and every outburst of vicious hatred that may appear in the public square. In this instance, in light of the fact of President Obama's former church having honored Farrakhan, the president himself having helped organize and attend Farrakhan's Million Man March in the 1990s, and the fact that Farrakhan has in effect solicited the views of the administration by sending copies of the new anti-Semitic books to it, it would be of great value and appropriate for the president to publicly condemn Louis Farrakhan's latest anti-Semitic outburst and threat to all American Jews. Now, behind the doors, why would they talk to the president about me? Are you sure they did? Almost as sure as I'm standing here. They're frightened at being exposed. And they see that Farrakhan's mouth gets more and more ears to listen. So as the book says about Jesus, we got to stop him before the whole world will go after him. So the Jews of that day pushed Pontius Pilate to come after Jesus. In 1942, Franklin Delano Roosevelt issued an executive order taking Elijah Muhammad off the streets while America was prosecuting a war with Japan. It's not far-fetched that when I speak as I speak, that they're not thinking, how do we stop him? Well, an attorney that's been here with me since we got started, Lou Myers, he knows how the government has been plotting. He knows all the different departments of government that are watching Farrakhan. Did you know that they always wanted to find a black man that they could use to destroy me? I hope, Brother Barack, that you won't give them that, because if you do, believe me when I tell you, it's like Martin Luther King sitting in the White House with Lyndon Baines Johnson, celebrating the passage of civil rights legislation while another branch of government was plotting to take his life. Reverend Jackson warned me one day, Farrakhan, the government, doesn't really like, the way you talk and whatnot, and you have to be very careful. I said, so do you, brother. Dear family, if they charge me with sedition or treason, because I can't go along with this. I don't care what Gadhafi has done wrong. He's not the mad dog of the Middle East. The mad dogs are growling and biting in Washington, D.C. I saw one on television the other day that hopes to be your next president. He sounded to me like a gangster. is his name? Donald Trump. Do you want to go to hell in a rocket ship? Vote for him. Because he'll take you down faster than anything I've seen. The man talks like a gangster. I heard him with my ears, saw him with my eyes. He said, quote, well, if we get out of Iraq, the Shiites in Iran are going to come and take over the oil. So we might as well go and take the oil. Damn. Is that a gangster? How in the hell do you think the world is going to stand by while you think you got the power to take the resources of the people of the world? Here's a man that talked about China like China was a damn puppy dog. You can't handle China. And soon you will see. You're not the big bad boy on the block. No more. It's over, baby. It's over. The masquerade is over. Thank you for listening. Thank you. Now I'm going to take a few questions from the media. Nobody else, just the media. I know that was a long statement, but compare me to Fidel. Just. When Fidel has a press conference, it might be 2 hours before he gets to the questions.
To the members of the media, if you would please raise your question, state your name and your affiliation.
I'll hold the mic, stand up please and say.
Perry Small, WVON. I was just, in your last remarks, you were talking about possible charges of sedition and treason. Have you heard anybody, or have you been contacted by any reliable sources that said that this might happen?
No.
What makes you make that statement?
Looking at the book.
Okay.
What book? Do you realize we're fulfilling prophecy right now? You don't have no black man in America that has an argument with the Jews but Farrakhan. Well, who in the Bible had the biggest argument with the Jews of that day? Was it not Jesus? I'm walking in the master's shoes. Take it or let it alone. Next question. Sure. Excuse me. Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm Phil Rogers from Channel 5.
Yes, sir.
I wonder if you clarify the link you see between what is going on with Muammar Gadhafi and the possibility of a major earthquake in the United States.
Oh, yes. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that there were 4 great judgments. And the last of those judgments was earthquakes. And he told me that there would be one coming that would be so great. Not just one city would come down, many. Search the scriptures. When they hung Jesus out to dry, and on the day he gave up the ghost, what happened? A great earthquake. See, you're dealing with a man, I'm sorry, I'm not an insane, delusionist person. You're dealing with a man that you're going to have to deal with. And you can't deal with me the way you deal with your customary Negroes. You can't kill me like you did Malcolm and Martin and others. God won't allow that to happen. And the moment you move on me, God is going to move on you. And I'm talking about terrible disaster. Now, if you think I'm crazy, just breathe a little more. And when it happens, remember, you heard it first on WFOIMGT.
Hello, Minister Farrakhan. I'm Karen Hawkins with the Associated Press.
Yes, ma'am.
Wondering if I can get your response to these reports that Gadhafi has been hurting his own people or attacking his own people. You know, that was President Obama's reason for intervening. What's your response to that?
Well, why didn't they intervene when Bush was hurting his own people? See, you all are always looking out for an enemy, and you're romancing an enemy every day. Gadhafi didn't have no stimulus package that robbed you of your wealth. Gadhafi didn't help Goldman Sachs and Lehman Brothers and all the Wall Street thieves rob the American people of their wealth. How in the hell can you look over there and see an enemy and don't see one that is robbing you blind under your very nose? And by the way, a lot of American people feel that Barack is hurting the American people. And they're making a move now to make sure he's just a one-term president. Thank God for this form of democracy where it is not open rebellion, but you're going to see that too. See, Wisconsin was just a seed. The union's just a seed. Let me tell you something. You think it's some black Muslims that you got problems with? You got problems with your well-armed militia that hate your government. And they'll tell you right now, when they went to the Tea Party with their gun on their hip, we come in peace this time. What did they mean by that? Those are the people you need to question, because Gadhafi can't get across the Atlantic Ocean to do you no harm. And if he did harm to his people, he has to answer for that. Everybody has to answer for their crimes. And I would say, while I'm on that point, to my friend Bashar al-Assad, when you see the people rising like this, don't wait for revolution. Create evolutionary change. What the people are wanting is more justice, more equity, more jobs, more transparency, less corruption. The king in Bahrain, the people weren't trying to overthrow him. They just wanted meaningful change. So if you're wise, every parent that is a dictator, and I'm sure your mother was one, I'm not playing the dozens, but my mother was sure enough a dictator. Was yours? If you had a father in the home, he told you when to come in. You didn't tell him what food you wanted to eat for that night, what room you were going to sleep in. But after the values that parents instill in their children are set, you can't dictate to even your children anymore. You got to back up now and learn how to reason with the growth of intelligence in your own house. Otherwise, you'll have a revolt in your kitchen. And I'm telling you, brothers, don't you think you're going to beat up women, misuse and abuse them. No. I mean, you gotta learn how to dialogue. Because in the kitchen there are many weapons. And if they don't get them while you're in the kitchen, they'll sure get them while you sleep. Yes, ma'am.
Brashear from the Chicago Tribune. Just to follow up to Karen's question, you said that people were asking for evolution, asking for things. Do you not feel that the rebels were acting the way they were because they weren't getting that from their leader, Gadhafi?
I'm sure that there's a degree of that definitely there. May I say something about the Nation of Islam? See, when the nation came up, we came up in a hostile environment. So we had general orders to help us guard against the enemy putting in our midst stool pigeons and agent provocateurs to destroy the momentum of our movement. So while we were looking out, we also had to look in. And sometimes somebody would get a jacket that they were working with the authorities. Maybe they weren't, but they got dealt with. See, repression is everywhere where authority is challenged. But when authority understands that the people do want change, do need change, and are not trying to harm a movement but create greater movement, then we would be wise to listen to the demands of the people for change. And that's all we're saying. Yes, there are people out there who really are aggrieved, but there's also an element there that don't care what Gadhafi does, even if he starts making a change. You ask them on the news, well, what do you want? We want to go all the way to Tripoli and get Gadhafi. How you going to do it? America is going to give them weapons. Barack has already signed it. CIA covert action going on right now in Libya. Boots are already on the ground. Special ops, according to what I heard on the news. So all this talk, fluff talk, is for the gullible, silly people to eat it up. But if you look under it, the policy has never changed. Kill Gadhafi. I want to ask you a question, media people. See, do you really think that Brother Gadhafi really was going to slaughter 700,000 people in Benghazi? Listen, he might have slaughtered some, though. I won't say he wouldn't. But if that were true, we looked up one day and his soldiers had ringed Benghazi. Now that means all the territory before that, they took it back. Where are all the bodies? If the man is a nut and feeling full of revenge, show me and the American people the bodies. The mass graves. You're liars. This is how you maneuver the American people when you want to kill somebody. You first make them a boogeyman. I've had many conversations with brother, leader. He's a thinker, not a nut. I wish, look at all the people that were greeting him with love. Brother, can you show them just a few? Oh, well, anyway. Where's, oh yeah. That's Gadhafi with Sarkozy. Did you know that Sarkozy said Libya financed his election? And they got all the bank transfers and everything. They say they're going to bring it out in the public. That's why he was so hurt that Sarkozy was the first one that wanted to bomb when he helped make him a president. It's the kind of devils you're dealing with. Let me tell you something. You would be worse than a damn fool with the knowledge that Elijah Muhammad has given us, and then take that kind of people into your bosom and wonder why the hell you get bitten. No, this ain't hate. We got 450 years of dealing with you. There he is with, I think that's Gordon Brown. Here's Tony Blair. Look like he's gonna kiss him. Ban Ki-moon. Who's this guy? Oh, that's Berlusconi, the guy who has a little problem. Look at how they were loving him up. Just a few days before, how did he change? All of a sudden, he was killing all these people all the time, and you was in bed with him? You didn't smell the sulfur? You didn't smell the bombs while you was in bed? You wicked hypocrites. You were lulling him to sleep. That's why I told him in our last conversation in 2005, I said, brother, they will never forgive you for what you've done to destabilize their access to wealth. They'll make you think they're your friend, but they will only come in to destroy you and your revolution. So help me Allah. He patted me on my thigh as if to say, I know, but I'm maneuvering. He didn't say those words. Yeah, and now look, the shock of betrayal. Okay, last question. Oh, Brother Baghdadi, yes, sir. Arab Journal. Brother Muwakil, you don't have a question for your little brother? Yes, sir.
Ali Baghdadi from the Arab Journal. I have two questions.
Yes, sir.
The first thing, the United States says that they are there to save Muslim lives. How could they convince the Muslim world that is true when the Muslims throughout the world saw what America did to Iraq, what America is doing right now in Afghanistan, and what America is doing now in Pakistan? According to Paul Craig Roberts, who was deputy of the Treasury at the time of Reagan, recently he wrote that 4 million people were killed in Iraq starting from April 90.
I know that's true.
Through wars and through sanctions.
I know that's true.
That's the first question. The second question, they are enforcing no-fly zone over Libya. Why didn't the United States enforce no-fly zone over little Gaza with 2 million people when Israel leveled Gaza to the ground? They destroyed hospitals, universities, schools, apartment buildings, everything in sight. The same thing happened in 06 when Israel invaded southern Lebanon. For 33 days, the most sophisticated war machinery in the world, provided by the United States, leveled southern Lebanon to the ground. Why didn't they use the no-fly zone?
Thank you. Great questions. Now, to all the media, listen. To my friends in the media, I want you to listen to me. He raised a question that you can answer. When jet planes, helicopter gunships went into Gaza, dropping phosphorus bombs and other anti-personnel weapons, cluster bombs. Condoleezza Rice, George W. Bush, the American people under this government looked the other way. And what was Bush's response? They had a right, Israel had a right to defend itself because Hamas was shooting rockets into uninhabited parts of Israel. And they may have killed 1 or 2 people. But Israel went in with the force of arms made in America and leveled Gaza, killing men, women, children, bombing schools, hospitals, mosques. Even the UN building was destroyed. Now tell me something, media members. Do you think if there was real humanitarian concern that that would not have come out when a slaughter like that was going on? See, anytime a devil, and listen. See, devils are so knowledgeable of the nature of the righteous. It's like that tree in the book of Genesis. Eat everything but that tree that has the knowledge of good and evil. That's a man. Trees don't have knowledge of good and evil. It's a human being that has a nature of evil but knows the nature of good. So he can come among the righteous with a good thing and deceive them and then turn them into doing evil and make evil fair seeming. Now watch what I'm saying. That's a demon. Have they turned Brother Barak? Skillful. Look at all the things he wanted to do. And look at the things that he's been blessed to do. And look at where they're backing him now into a corner to put a black face on a war with Islam. There's a lot of blood on Barak's hands right now. The drone bombs in Pakistan that are killing so-called insurgents, but collateral damage of many innocent civilians. They're dropping bombs, these drones, in Yemen. They're dropping bombs like this in Somalia. That's right. So while they look like they're so noble, if you really knew what your CIA does, no, they don't. The American people are ignorant of the foreign policy of their government. Don't you ever think that they knew, because if they knew, they would rise up. If they hang around me long enough, they're gonna know, and they will rise up against the wickedness of their own government. So the second question was, I think, what was that second? Oh yeah, the no-fly zone. Right? No, they can't convince nobody in the Muslim world of humanitarian concern for human beings. Not in our world of Islam. The second question that you raised was a no-fly zone. And what was under that? Oh, I see. Yeah. Well, when they were raining down bombs in Lebanon, Condoleezza Rice again, our government, let it happen. They knew they were dropping these kind of bombs, but what did they want? They wanted to appease Israel. They wanted Israel to knock out Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. But Brother Baghdadi, didn't they have to leave with their tail between their legs? Because with all their bombs, they could not destroy the will of the Palestinian people and Hezbollah to fight back? Absolutely. America can't win these wars. It's over. You'll see. It's over. And if they kill that brother and his family, like they did Saddam Hussein and his sons, those are chickens, as Brother Malcolm said, that will come back home to roost. Yes, Brother Muwakil. Let him say it again through the microphone. He's talking about AFRICOM. I think they're based in Stuttgart, Germany, but they're now moving to Djibouti.
Djibouti, yes, sir.
Which is another Muslim country. America does not want to see the vision of Kwame Nkrumah of the United States of Africa come to pass. So the moment Gadhafi launched, with the help of 53 African nations, the African Union, Europe came up with something called NEPAD. And now bringing AFRICOM down, which is a military presence, that would mean they want to ensure that the revolutions that take place are guided for the best interest of the West. America cannot survive and be a world leader in the 21st century unless she has access to the mineral wealth of Africa. And if there is a united Africa, America will be a second-rate power. Russia and China are in Africa big time. China is moving so fast in Africa. America wants to blunt the incursion into Africa with Russian development, Chinese development. So America wants to compete, but she always has a military objective under that. And AFRICOM, in the little place called Djibouti, 1.5 million people, is home now to an American base. Now look, you really don't know your government, and you don't know the American administrations. You just don't know. And I'm not belittling you. But this is corporate managed media that feed the American people the slop that they want you to eat. So they can tell in the stools that you produce from the food that they feed that they're getting their point over. Am I making it raw enough for you to understand? So I thank all of you for your presence, for your patience. And I pray that what we see going on in the world, that we will try our best to be prepared. You need to store some water in your homes. You need to store some food in your homes, groceries that will allow you to be in your homes for 2 to 3 weeks or 2 to 3 months. But when that great earthquake comes, it won't make any difference what you have in your pantry. It's very sad. And I hoped and prayed that I would not have to see that. But it is coming. And I pray that America will recognize that black folk are nothing for you to play with. You may think you can kill us, but you will only be ending up destroying yourself. So I thank all of you for listening. And I'm sure this will get to the government. That's who I really wanted it to get to. And they may do with it and with me whatever they choose. But God is the one in whom I put my trust. And I would advise you to do the same. Thank you for listening. Assalamu alaikum.